Hey guys, Brandon Muth here. So after that ACEs infographic that I did a few months back, I've had several people ask me about my process for how I do how I did that infographic and how I approach doing data visualizations and creating pieces of data art. So I thought I would kind of intermittently record screencast blurbs as I go along with the one that I've decided to tackle this time around. So what I've this one is I've decided to take all of the data surrounding the 1,305 satellites that are currently in orbit around the Earth and create a piece of data art around that information. So I don't really have a step-by-step process. It's more of a feel. I get interested in a particular data set, and then I kind of ruminate on it for a while, and over a few days, a couple weeks, maybe even a few months, I kind of see in my mind what the end result looks like, and I don't really know how to describe that other than that I just see it in my mind's eye and kind of begin to build layer by layer to try to achieve on the screen what it is that I see in my head. So this is the data that is provided. There's actually an organization that tracks all of the satellites, and they provide all this data. And what I decided to do was start with Earth. So I took all their data and I converted this into centimeters. So the Earth is 12,742 kilometers. In diameter, and so I've converted all that down to centimeters. So instead of kilometers, I've just decided to go with this 12.742 centimeters. So that's kind of the base, and then I build everything from there. And what I decided to do to get started was I sorted each satellite from closest orbit all the way down. So you can see that this is getting increasing in value as you go down the list. And then I created this equation which takes into account, so this is 177 miles off the Earth's surface. So in order to account for the circumference of the Earth plus that 177 off the Earth gives you the circumference of the orbit. And so what I did there was I just divided the kilometers, cut it by 1,000, the benefit of the metric system, multiplied that by 2 because it's got to be 177 on both sides, we're assuming, and then adding that to the circumference of the Earth. So I did that for the perigee as well as the apogee, and then get these two numbers for the size of the circle for the orbit. So if you go in here to this layer here, and we go down here to layer 1, you can see if we hide all these other layers for the time being, and we just look at this first layer here, and we double click this and we look at the dimensions, you can see that it's 13.0985. Which is 13.096 by 13.312. So if we look at this, it's 13.31. I don't know why it's adding an extra decimal place because I did not do that originally. 13.096 by 13.312. So that's the orbit of that first satellite. So then what I did in my head, I didn't want the satellites to just go straight up because I thought that would be very terribly boring. I want to give the illusion of this cylindrical orbit around the Earth, the elliptical orbit. So for each satellite, what I did is I set that up and then I rotate it -5 degrees. So as you go through each one of these, so there's the second one rotated third one, fourth one, fifth one, etc. So you can see each one of these I set up on the orbit and then I rotate -5 degrees, and I decided to set these up in groups of 36 because that's 180 degrees each. So that's the first 180 degrees, and then you've got the second 180 degrees, which makes it full 360. So they're in groups of 36, so every 72 you begin to get a picture of what the orbits in each satellite looks like. So that's how I start with this one, and I know, like I said, the goal is to make it on the screen what I see in my head. So this is just a way to get started. And some people ask me, well, how come you don't just throw that info into, a D3 framework or some sort of JavaScript library to generate this? And I've found that when dealing with a lot of stuff, I already know what I want it to look like. So those libraries are helpful to, kind of get an idea of what the data looks like, but I already know in my head what I want it to look like. And I've found that when you throw that stuff into one, just have it auto-generate, the design aspect is lacking. So I like to build this layer by layer, because I find it interesting, and two, I like to see how the pieces come together. I like to see the layers building on each other. So that's why I prefer to do it this way. I can kind of see how everything fits, how the design is progressing. So this is kind of how I'm setting it up. I'm going to continue here, going from 145 and up, and we'll stop as I find something interesting to share.